Before I share my screen, I'd like to introduce myself. My name is Rose Krebs. I, she, or hers pronouns, and I serve as the student executive director of Feed the Pack Food Pantry. So this presentation will cover just an introduction to food insecurity at NC State, as well as an introduction of Feed the Pack, who we are, what we do, and then how we've changed and grown over the years, and the impacts of COVID-19 on our operations, along with sustainability and food justice information. So to start off, I want to give just a brief overview of food insecurity at NC State and the history of research that's covered food insecurity at NC State. So first, some quick definitions. So what does food insecurity look like at NC State? Some quick definitions at first. So low food insecurity, as defined by the USDA, includes reports of reduced quality, variety, or desirability of diet, but has little or no indication of reduced food intake, versus very low food security. That includes reports of multiple indications of disrupted eating patterns and reduced food intake. And these are both definitions that we use at the pantry and that have been used in research as studying food insecurity here at NC State. So the first study to look at food insecurity at NC State was conducted by Dr. Mary Haskett in the fall of 2017. And their research team surveyed 7,000 students and got just under 2,000 responses. And they found that 14% of students reported low or very low food insecurity, and that was in the past 30 days. So to give a little context to that, this was about 4,700 students, or the size of the class of 2022 in terms of undergrads. And this study looked at both graduate and undergraduate students, and they found that the rate of food insecurity was similar for both populations, but it was higher somewhat for students of color. And about 1/3 of food insecure students had a meal plan, and 40% of those students said that their meal plan was not sufficient to meet their needs, whether they're commuter students or they can't afford another or aren't eligible for another meal plan scholarship, or that they're buying simply the cheapest meal plan and that isn't meeting their needs. Everyone's situation is different. And of students who are classified as food insecure, only about 9% used the campus food pantry in the past year. This statistic has been really important for us, trying to increase that number, raising awareness, and trying to meet the need of more students so that more students are having their food needs met on campus. I also want to give a little context in the bigger picture for this number. So 14% was about what the statewide food insecurity was. In 2017, in the state of North Carolina, food insecurity was about 15% of the general population. This number is relatively similar to that statistic. So more recently, Dr. Haskett and John Doris have just completed another study. So this study was completed in the fall of 2020. And similarly, they surveyed 7,600 students with just under 1,500 responses. So less of a response rate than the previous survey, but they did identify that 23% of students faced food insecurity in the past 30 days. And this again includes graduate and undergraduate students. And if you look at that number in the big perspective of the university, so the university has about 37,000 students. So this means that about 8,500 students are facing food insecurity, have faced food insecurity within the past month. And that is equivalent to all of the students, undergrads, the undergrad population of COS, the College of Sciences, and CALS, the College of Agriculture and Life Sciences combined. And that's a very striking statistic for us, knowing that so many students are out there who are facing food insecurity, and knowing that we need to reach more students on campus. And so before I move on to talking about our initiatives, I want to ask if there are any questions regarding food insecurity on campus, or if there's anything you want me to clarify from the previous studies. So you can either pop it in the chat, I'll pull that up, or you can just unmute.
How did you get your survey responses?
So the survey was emailed out to a selective pool of students, and it was based on who responded to that email. Any other questions? so I will move forward into talking about Feed the Pack. So Feed the Pack is NC State's on-campus food pantry. We're run by the student leadership team, so I serve as the executive director, but obviously this is too much work for one person to do alone. I work with a team of 6 other students. So Kaya serves as our secretary, Anna serves as our pantry manager, Sarah is our food donation coordinator, Cam is our brand coordinator, and Yashmitha is our marketing coordinator. So we are a number of students across a variety of programs and years in the university. So right now I'm the only senior on the team. We also work with the Office of Student Leadership and Engagement. We were formerly a student org, but we have since kind of moved on from that and are a program under the Office of Leadership and Sorry, they just merged offices. It's the Student Leadership and Engagement Office. And we're hoping to continue to expand as we move forward. And we have 2 advisors as well within that office, Dana and Amin. Amin serves as the AmeriCorps Vista with our program. So we have been able to expand a lot in the past year, which has been necessary due to COVID-19. So our mission is to meet the food needs of our campus community with dignity and respect. We're located on campus, about a 5-minute walk from Cali Student Union in the Quad Commons building. And we're currently open 3 days a week, Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Fridays from noon to 6. On the right there is one of the pictures of the pantry. It's changed a bit since that picture was taken, but it's still relatively accurate. So I want to also provide a bit of our history. So we were founded in 2012 by a group of students and staff who were concerned by the amount of food insecurity on campus. And the pantry was originally located in Harrelson Hall. In 2015, the pantry moved and we spent a short period of time in Carmichael Gym. And then in December of 2015, we moved again to Broughton Hall, which is where we were when I started as a volunteer in 2017. And so that location, it was central on campus, but it was more difficult to get to than our current location. It was not near a Raleigh bus line stop, and it was more difficult to access at times than our current location. So we're currently located in the Quad Commons in a location that's formerly a C-store. We moved to this location in 2018. And so here is an image of our space as it looked like right after we moved in. It was right around the holidays because we have all this little garland up. But as you can see in the back here, we have some freezers, refrigeration, neither of which are turned on at the time. We have back counters, and this is obviously pre-COVID, so there have been a few changes there, but this next picture shows the pantry from another angle, just from the back, so you can see this front counter space and the back area of our shelving. So since then, we have had numerous opportunities to expand and grow in our space. So this is the pantry as of January of 2021. So we have been able to form partnerships with Food Lion to bring in additional shelving for the pantry. So this new shelf back here, along with shelving along the back wall, along with partnerships with facilities to provide new cabinets for the pantry for our storage. And then obviously we have a number of safety procedures in place for COVID-19 with the plexiglass and the floor markers. So this picture captures some of our changes in the pantry, but these next really capture how we've been able to grow in terms of the food that we provide. So we have been able to expand to provide fresh produce. We also have our refrigeration and freezing turned on. And we have this has provided us with a number of opportunities to have frozen meals, frozen fruits and vegetables, along with some meats, though that has not been formalized yet. And we also have the opportunity to have recipe bags in partnership with different events and programs throughout the year. So in the past year, we've seen a lot of expansion and change due to COVID. This fresh produce, refrigeration, and freezing has all happened since March of 2020. But we have seen a number of other changes in terms of the number of visits. So with COVID-19, we saw a massive growth in terms of the number of people who are visiting the pantry. So in 2019, we had just under 4,000 visits. In 2020, that doubled to over 8,200. We also saw changes in terms of who was visiting the pantry. So in the past, it was relatively evenly split between students and staff who were using the pantry. Now that has shifted to predominantly students, with over 5,000, almost 6,000 of those 8,000 visits being from students in 2020. And already in 2021, we're seeing a similar trend. This data here is from January to March of 2021, but we're already about where we were in 2018. And there is, again, that definitive tilt towards students' visits instead of staff and students being evenly split. So with that, we've also seen a major increase in terms of the food we have distributed. In 2020, we distributed over 116,000 pounds of food. To give a little context to that, between 2012 and 2019, we distributed just over 110,000 pounds of food. So last year, we distributed as much as we did for all the previous years that we had been serving the community. In 2021, we're also on about that same trend. We've so far from January to March, we've distributed 31,000 pounds of food. And pre-COVID, we were averaging from March 2019 to about March 2020. We distributed about 3,800 pounds of food a month. Now that's risen to over 10,000 pounds of food a month. So we have seen a definitive increase there. We've also seen some changes in how we get our food and where our food comes from. In the past, you can see this received line is relatively similar or above the food we've distributed. Last year, it was much lower. So to fill this gap here, we have begun purchasing food. Primarily, that is our fresh produce, along with some dry items to supplement what we have on our shelves. And we also purchased some perishables that is not fresh produce as well, so that we have some more of a variety. So since May 2020, we've spent over $42,000 to bring in almost 33,000 pounds of food. And on average, that's about $600 to $650 a week on fresh produce alone. But that's good for us to have all this variety in the pantry. I know it's very popular. Produce is probably the most popular, it's not probably, it's without a doubt the most popular thing in the pantry. But we also hope to expand moving forward as well to provide additional perishable items like dairy and other items on a regular basis. Because right now we don't have a consistent supply of those items. So with COVID-19, this purchasing has not been particularly sustainable. That's one of the major challenges that the pantry faces. Right now we have a number of ongoing challenges. So first off, reaching new students. As you saw in the data from Dr. Haskett's study, there are a lot more food insecure students on campus who attend or off campus who attend NC State who are not utilizing Feed the Pack. And we want to be a resource for those students. We want to reach out. We want them to be comfortable coming to the pantry and utilizing us as a resource. And part of that also needs to include reducing the stigma around food pantries and food insecurity. I feel like this year we've seen an increase of kind of a realization of how many people are food insecure, in part because that number has grown so much in COVID-19. But we need to keep working on that stigma because it does still exist. And we want our pantry to be a welcoming space. I've heard stories from people who are like, I found community here. And that's a really powerful statement that we want other students and even staff members to feel as well, because we don't just serve students, we also serve staff and faculty. Another challenge that I touched on previously is we rely on donations to meet the financial needs of the pantry. And that donation or the amount that's donated each month varies. We don't really have a consistent income except what we get in donations. And so trying to make that a more sustainable path for the pantry moving forward, because we don't want to stop providing fresh produce, but if we're primarily purchasing it, and we need that to be a sustainable process, even when there is so much demand on that produce and other items that we purchase as well. So some of the ways we've managed to kind of combat those challenges is through partnerships. So partnerships can take many different forms. whether they're volunteering in the pantry, providing shelving, hosting food drives, or simply raising awareness. We also have some partners we work with to do fundraising and then providing actual product in the pantry. So on campus, we have a number of partners. We host food drives with various organizations. We're always happy to do a food drive with organizations. I know Greek Life just did a hygiene drive because we don't just provide food, we also provide hygiene and items in the pantry, and that was really successful. Food drive competitions are always a big hit. We also have Pack the Shelves, which is a partnership between us and different departments on campus. In this flyer here on the right kind of shows what that looks like. Each month, a department will essentially sponsor a bin or a shelf. Right now it's virtual, but in the past, your department would get a bin, and then in a month you would fill up the department bin, and then we would come and pick it up from that department. And the department bin would have a theme of, this one here is breakfast snacks, so like cereal, oatmeal, granola bars, Pop-Tarts, that sort of thing. And it was always a good way for departments to get involved. Like I said, this semester it's virtual via Amazon Wishlists, and it's been fairly successful, but it's less engaging, and it's harder to be involved when everything's virtual. We also partner with Pack Essentials. I believe Sarah Wright is also speaking this afternoon or another day. I believe it's afternoon right after me, but she also works with Pack Essentials to help coordinate and oversee programs that help with other student basic needs beyond food insecurity. So whether it's housing insecurity or homelessness, along with emergency funding for students, all kind of falls under the Pack Essentials umbrella, even though we are all separate programs. We also have a number of partnerships with NC State Dining. So we work with Dining to work with one of their suppliers to bring in all that fresh produce I talked about previously. And we also partner with Agroecology Education Farm. I think Allison is giving a talk later this week as well. And they provide some of our fresh produce as well. So we have local produce in the pantry on a regular basis. We also partner with Off-Campus Partners. I know Interfaith Food Shuttle is here this week talking as well. And we partner with them to bring in some of their frozen casseroles along with other items. We're in the process of making a more formalized partnership and a long-term partnership as well. We also partner with the Food Bank of Central and Eastern North Carolina. They are a great source of regular items as well as additional produce for the pantry. We source our bread from Bread of Life, which is another partnership. And we also partner with a number of restaurants and local businesses. If anyone has ever been to a Place at the Table, it's a pay-what-you-can restaurant in downtown Raleigh. It's run by Maggie Kane, who is an NC State alum. And they have been great at supporting us, hosting food drives and providing tokens for students to use to go to the restaurant to pay with a token instead of with cash, or they can pay what they can if they feel inclined. We also partner with Papa Murphy's Steak and Bake Pizza. That was one of the pictures in the partnership slide. They provide us with pizzas as well as doing fundraising nights throughout the year. And so I wanted to also expand this a little bit more on how you can get involved with the pantry. So we do have a syllabus statement. If you are a professor or TA or in any way reaching out or working with students, we have this syllabus statement. I'll send out these slides at the end so you all can access these links. But the syllabus statement is focused on not just us, but Pack Essentials as a whole. And the syllabus statement is there. And we want students to feel comfortable visiting the pantry, and so having professors as a resource to really kind of communicate this resource is here, because although we do work with different orientation programs, sometimes the best way, or sometimes the way we hear that a lot of students learn about Feed the Pack is through word of mouth, is through interacting with peers, and that's really important to really help with that stigma and to make sure that campus itself is aware and can work with students. We also have the Pack Essentials Ally Knowledge Program, or the PEAK program, and this you can find on our website and Pack Essentials website. It is a program designed to, again, make students, staff, and faculty more familiar with Pack Essentials and the services they provide, including food, how to recognize or like signs that students might have experienced or be experiencing food and housing insecurity, and then how to have some of those more difficult conversations surrounding food and housing insecurity. So we also have food drive opportunities. So we have in-person food drives, like your traditional food drive, and we also can do virtual drives, again, through an Amazon Wishlist. We have just our general Amazon Wishlist, or we can make you a custom Amazon Wishlist for your drive if you have like a theme or certain items that you would look for on your drive. And we have an interest form that we do ask anyone to fill out if they want to do a food drive. That just helps us keep track of food drives, make sure we can provide you with any resources you need, and helps us know when everything is coming to the pantry so we can let our volunteers know you'll be coming. I talked about Pack the Shelves earlier, but again, it's a way for departments to support the pantry on a consistent basis. I kind of mentioned before that that consistent basis is really important for us so that we do have items in the pantry on a regular basis. And it is virtual this summer, semester, but we are hoping to eventually transition back to some sort of an in-person program. So we also have in-person donations. They can be dropped off at the pantry anytime during our open hours. I mentioned earlier Amazon Wishlist, and then monetary donations as well. If you are a staff or faculty, there's also automatic payroll deduction, but I won't get into that today. You can contact our email if you want to learn more about that. So one of the things we often get, one of the questions we often get is, what do I donate? So we have on our website a current most needed items list that's updated typically every week or so. And we also have a list of items that we don't currently need in the pantry. And this is important for us because we do have limited storage space in our location. So if we have, say, a bunch of cans of green beans, it's beneficial for us not to get a bunch more because we do quickly run out of space to store them. And if you're not sure and you're shopping at the grocery store, just think about what you eat and just grab an extra for the pantry. And that's one of the best ways for you to support us. Even if you're not sure, just anything you would eat like on a regular basis is always helpful. All right, so those are all my slides, but I did want to open it up for questions. See, there's something in the chat. Yes, thank you for adding the Amazon wish list and the monetary donations online. So we also have our email here, our newsletter that goes out each month with pantry updates and information on a regular basis. And we also have our social media as well. So does anyone have any questions about Feed the Pack, or again about that study in the beginning?
I had a question.
Sure.
So I know you said that produce is like the most popular thing, but like what happens to the produce if for whatever reason like it's just like left on the shelf, or I don't know if it's like left on the shelf, but if no one like picks it up and it starts going bad, like do you guys throw it away? Is it composted, or like would someone that I guess volunteers take it before it gets to that point?
Yeah, that's a great question. We do sometimes have produce that gets left on the shelf. It doesn't happen very often, but sometimes we do, and we do have a composting program for that. Same for if sometimes the produce that we bring in from some of our partners, it might be one apple or something has gone bad. We compost that as well.
So thank you.
I had a question about something you said at the beginning that was from Dr. Haskett's study, I believe. There was about, I don't remember the percentage, it might have been 40% of the students experiencing food insecurity were on a meal plan. And I was wondering if you had any more information about that, and what if the school was addressed, like if the people that are in charge of the meal plans were addressing that in any way, or if that was just solely something that you guys had done research on.
No, there have been some initiatives to work with that. So through Pack Essentials, there is a meal plan scholarship that students can get. and that will cover the cost of a meal plan for a semester or even a year. There's if you get a meal plan, sometimes you get those guest swipes. If you have some left at the end of the semester, there's usually an opportunity to donate them, or at least there has been in the past. There wasn't last year because of COVID, but typically there is a swipe campaign to donate those. And so that is another opportunity. Those can get then loaded onto another student's card, so they can get a meal at the dining hall.
Do you guys generally have success keeping the pantry staffed, or are you kind of always in need of more volunteers?
We do typically meet our volunteer quota each year. We have kind of reestablished that. In the past, we had a lot of volunteers who weren't always active in the pantry. So we really are looking for active volunteers. The reason I didn't have anything on volunteering in this PowerPoint is because we have met our quota for this year. Typically over breaks, so over winter break this year, and then over the summer, those are typically more difficult for us to cover in terms of volunteering. But we do have a lot of volunteer opportunities. And as we move forward and hopefully open back up more and have additional hours, we may need additional volunteers. But I know we'll open our volunteer just form up again over the summer, most likely, once we figure out how many volunteers are going to be around.
I have a question.
Okay.
So about the produce, how do you, because if that's really popular and for instance, you put it all out at once, I'm sure it would be like the locusts would take all of it. I mean, everybody would just, it wouldn't be there after the first group of people. How do you kind of watch that so everybody gets an equal chance?
Yeah, so that's one thing that we are working on. It's an ongoing process, but as of right now, we portion it out for the week. So we count out and split it up. We're currently open 3 days, so we split it up across those 3 days. And then we do have limits on our produce. And we have a volunteer who's back there just kind of guiding people, saying like, we want this to be a resource and available to everyone. So please just consider that when you're taking produce. That's primarily how we've been doing it. That's been an ongoing discussion for us because produce is relatively new to the pantry still. And with COVID, the increased need, it's a lot of factors all combating that, but that is something we have been addressing and will continue to be addressing moving forward.
How well do you feel, if I can interrupt for one, how well do y'all feel like you're addressing the diversity of our campus as far as population needs and the way they eat?
Yeah, that's a great question. We have been working to expand the items we provide to meet more of the cultural and ethnic needs of our community because we do serve a lot of international food. We are international students, particularly in the past year. So we've had surveys out to our patrons to look and see what people are looking for, how can we better meet individual needs, also dietary restrictions as well. So for instance, the pizzas we get from Papa Murphy's include 20 gluten-free pizzas, so we can better meet that need. And we also work to communicate with our patrons to see like, what are you looking for in the pantry? What are we providing? What are we not providing? So that we can better meet those needs. But we are hoping to continue to expand that. That's a continuing goal for us. We also hope to better engage our donors to have a more consistent supply of different cultural and ethnic cuisines. Yeah, that's a great question. Thanks for asking that.
Thank you.
I'm curious if you have any idea why you kind of saw that transition where the proportion of students to staff using the pantry increased.
I haven't really seen a good explanation from anyone. I've heard a lot of different factors that may have impacted. Yes, furloughs, most likely one of them, but also a lot of students have stayed in the area instead of potentially like going home over the semester, and a lot of students also lost their on-campus jobs. when campus shut down in March. And we think that all may have had a very large impact as well.
I know you mentioned that you had partnered with Food Line for some storage shelves and things like that. But have you been able to partner any or get any like bakery or like pastry items or anything like that in excess or anything from them or any other grocers in the area?
Yeah, that's part of what we get from the food bank each week. And we also get bread from Bread of Life. That can include like regular bread, hot dog buns. We also get a couple other donors drop off pastries and other items. We have a church we partner with who actually brings in Starbucks items that are frozen that we can distribute. So we have a lot of those like sandwiches, bagels, and that sort of thing each week as well. And
Great,
we also
thank you.
do partner with Food Lion. We're working to solidify more regular donations of like products because we've done those in the past but haven't with COVID.
Gotcha.
Anyone else have any questions?
Would you be willing to share this presentation with like me or LP so that we could add this to the website so people could like click your links and stuff?
Yes, I can actually drop it in the chat right now. It should be available for everyone to view.
Yeah.
So there is the link to this presentation. You all should be able to view it. If not, wave at me and I will change the sharing settings.
Nope, it's perfect. Thank you.
Awesome.
Well, thank you so much for leading this session, Rose. It was great to have you.
Yeah, thank you for having me.